it's sort of like fantasy world daydreaming patterns, but you know, it's fun to talk about those too. So while I don't really think I'm gonna have time this fall to cast it on, it is like next on the queue. It is right there. If there's any way I can squeeze it in at all, I absolutely will. And what if we all just knit together? Hello, welcome to A Knitter Obsessed. My name is Bonnie and this is my knitting podcast. This is the space where I come to talk about all things knitting that are currently going on in my life. And typically that includes going through my projects and finished objects and any acquisitions. But today's a little bit of a fun special episode. So I don't have very much knitting to report on, so I thought I would come and sit down with you guys and talk through my fall knitting plans, which everybody seems to be doing right now. Definitely not an original video idea at the moment, but I think that's just because we're all so excited for the changing season and the ability to, you know, knit up some warmer knits, knit up some transitional pieces, and, you know, just, I feel like knitters especially just really thrive in the like crisper, more cozy weather. So I figured I would join in and talk about it. I did choose, today is September 1st, and for me that feels like the right time to start talking about some fall plans. I just couldn't bring myself to do it while it was still August. Just felt like it's still hot here in general, like just because it's September now doesn't mean it's cooled off at all. But something about the changing month made it just seem like it'd be a good time to sit down and talk with you guys. That being said, I want to talk to you really quick about what I am wearing. So this is actually the first time I've gotten to wear this on the channel, even though I finished it months ago. But this is my Arthur cardigan. It's a design by Tricot Design MCL. And I knit this with one strand of Miss Babs Yowza, which is a DK weight superwash merino in the colorway, I believe it was Eternity, and then held with one strand of their silk mohair. I can't think of the name of what their silk mohair is. I think it's Moon Glow is the name of the yarn, but it's in the colorway Ziggy Stardust. And I do have the sleeves cuffed right now, so the sleeves are usually very long, but it is, like I said, not really cool enough to wear this sweater right now, so I am rolling the sleeves up so that I can get through it. But I just felt like if I was going to talk about fall plans, I wanted to wear something a little cozy, something sweatery, and just, you know, kind of lean in. So that's what we're wearing today. Hopefully I don't overheat. I do have my ceiling fan going in this room to kind of help with the not overheating, so I'm really hoping that you can't like see or hear anything because of the fan, but we'll see. If you do, I am sorry. I will try and fix any sound problems in the editing process. While we're talking, I'm also going to be knitting. I just cast on, this is going to be a baby blanket for my new niece who we're expecting in October. And the baby shower is at the end of this month, and I'm just now starting the baby blanket. So we'll see if I get it done in time for the baby shower. There's a solid chance that I won't. But this is knit in Drops Paris, which is 100% cotton, in this beautiful yellow color. And I really like it. I wanted something just a little bit like punchier than I usually do for baby blanket. I wasn't really feeling the like super pastel colors. And I'm honestly just kind of winging it on this one. So my plan is to do a garter stitch border and then some sort of like stripes of texture through the body of the pattern. So nothing too crazy. I had this whole elaborate plan for it, but just I kept putting off knitting it. I think because my plan was just a little bit too elaborate. And I finally just decided that I just want to do something simple and beautiful and basic. And this yarn really shows off texture nicely. So I just thought some like seed stitch, some ribbing, some stockinette, you know, mixing it all in there would look really nice. So that's the plan. And then it got me to start it once I, you know, toned down my design ambitions just a little bit. So I'm still probably going to make the blanket I was originally planning on, but I'll do it some other time when I'm not on a deadline. So that'll be fun. But I'm going to be knitting on this while we're talking. So if I'm looking down and kind of clicking away, that's what I'm doing. I also, for everything we're talking about in patterns, I have this iPad here with all of the Ravelry pages up and that I'm going through. So I'll probably be looking down at those notes a lot as well. While we're talking about fall knitting plans, I know this is a lot of preamble, I'm sorry, I'll get into it in just a minute, but I did also want to say I have some, I wanted to talk a little bit about some possible knit along ideas that I was having, both ones that I want to participate in and one that I'm thinking about running. So and I'm gonna just get into that now because I know not everyone watches all the way through the end of the video, and I want everyone to have to hear about this. So I am contemplating running sort of an informal knit along, not with prizes, not, you know, any of that, but just sort of, we're all gonna knit the same pattern at the same time. And I was thinking about setting up like a group chat in Instagram where we could all talk about it and all just share notes and have fun knitting it together. But that is for the Kip Sweater by Rebecca Clow of the Crayabea. And that pattern comes out, I believe she said it was September 13th. So a couple of weeks from now. And I've had the yarn in stash for that pattern since she released the test call for it, because I really, really want to knit it. And someone in the comments of one of my videos had mentioned they also really, really wanted to knit it when I had talked about getting the yarn for it. And I was like, what if we all just knit it together? And so I was just thinking, like I said, not anything super formal, nothing overly structured, but if I was thinking it would start on September 13th when the pattern comes out and have it run for at least 3 months. I was almost thinking 4, just because this pattern has a pretty ridiculous row gauge. It's extra dense because of the number of slip stitches in the pattern, and so it's going to take quite a long time to get the right depth, you know, to get any length, I mean, in the garment. And I don't want anyone to feel stressed about it. Like, this isn't something for a deadline, it's just something for all of us to hang out and have some fun and talk about knitting together. And so just let me know if that's something you would be interested in. I think I'm going to set it up no matter, you know, even if only a couple of people want to do this, I will set up the group chat for a couple of people. That is not a problem. I'm happy to make new knitting friends, and this seems like a really fun way to do it. And also, if you wanted to join the group chat but not, you know, necessarily knit the Kip sweater, you could work on a sweater of your own and we could all just have fun in the group chat together. And so that was my thought. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And yeah, I will probably have a lot more information on this next week with my regular podcast episode, and we'll get it all set up and get it going, but I'm really excited about this. So with that said, the very last piece of business before I get into the knitting plans for fall is that I just want to caveat that some of these plans are like concrete plans that I think are definitely going to happen. Some are a bit more aspirational. So the ones that are definitely going to happen, there are quite a few that are definitely going to happen. I already have the yarn for them and it's all good to go. I'm not worried about it. They are in my head set in stone. Then there are ones that I already have the yarn for, but time-wise I might just run out of time for, and they might move into more winter or spring knits. And then there's just a couple in there that I just thought would be fun to mention that I don't have the yarn for, I probably don't have the time for, but they just are things that I would love to make this fall. And so it's sort of like fantasy world daydreaming patterns, but you know, it's fun to talk about those too. So I did include those as well. And yeah, so again, with that being said, let's get into it. So since I just talked about it, I'm obviously going to be knitting the Kip sweater. So I will be casting that on the day the pattern comes out, I'm sure, or at least swatching the day the pattern comes out. And I will be knitting that in this High Desert sport weight yarn by Knit Picks. This is in the color Mountain Bluebird. It's sport weight, as I said. It is 298 yards per 100 grams. And I have 5 of these to knit the Kip sweater, which follows the yardage that she had in her test call. So there could be some changes in those yardages when the pattern comes out, which I hope not. I'm hoping I don't need to get more, but you know, I might. And I'm hoping I can get gauge, because I obviously haven't been able to gauge swatch with this necessarily, but her pattern does call for sport weight yarn, and I just really like this color. So I really like the High Desert yarns. I've used the worsted weight one before for a hat, and some fingerless gloves that I really love both of them. They are great garments, and it's really nice to knit with. It just has a nice feel to it. And yeah, really excited about this. So this will be what I'm casting on for the Kip sweater. I don't have a lot of stats to give about that sweater just because, like I said, it's not out yet. I do know that the recommended yarn that she knit the sweater with was Ulysses by, I think it's Durarum Natura, which also looks like an amazing yarn, and I would love to try that someday, but I think this will also be fantastic. So that is a 100% going to happen plan. It will be cast on in a couple weeks when the pattern comes out. So next, I'm just going through my stack of yarn back here. So the next one that is going to happen for sure is I am going to knit the Citrine Jumper by Boatneck using the Mellow DK by U2 yarn in the colorway Copper, which was a special flock color that I picked up while I was there a few weeks ago. The reason that this is a 100% going to happen project is that I am going to be casting this on for the Fall Feels knit along that is being hosted by Jackie is Knitting over on YouTube. If you haven't seen her podcast, I highly recommend it. She has a great channel. And I just feel that this color really couldn't, scream fall much more than it does. It's this beautiful, like, rusty orange brown color that I just think is stunning. And it's so soft, it's so squishy. And while I do think of fall pieces as being maybe a bit more transitional, maybe not such heavy sweaters, which this does look like a fairly cozy sweater, it is a DK weight sweater, so it's not overly chunky. And this is a superwash, and I do feel like superwashes tend to maybe not be quite as warm as non-superwash yarns fairly often. So it'll be a warm sweater, that's fine. It'll be good for when we're getting into late fall, I think. But I do feel like if we're going for fall feels, this color has the fall feels. So this will be the other knit along that I'm participating in. And yeah, I'm very excited about this as well. I think it's gonna be stunning, and I'm so excited to cast it on. That knit along starts today, I believe, and I'm not 100% sure how long it goes for. I'm sure just through fall. I should have double checked, but I forgot. I will put the details for the knit along in the description below, along with links to all of the patterns that I am talking about here, and as well as a link to Jackie's channel, because her channel is great. But yeah, also very excited to cast that on. Some information on the Citrine Jumper. This has been a plan for a while, so I have talked about this before, so if I'm recapping, for some people, I'm sorry. But this is a DK weight pattern. It has a gauge of 22 stitches and 38 rows per 4 inches. It is a pattern by Boatneck, and it has these really pretty, it has a higher neck with these really pretty cable details. It's a raglan construction with cables along the raglan, which are really pretty. And yeah, it's got this really cool, like, ribby texture to it too. It calls it a faux rib. So I'm not entirely sure how she does that yet, but it's very pretty, lovely, just simple textured top-down raglan sweater, and I think it'll be stunning, and I can't wait to cast it on. Moving on to, this is also, I would say, a definite plan that I 100% want to make, but I want to make the Cargill Cowl by Rebecca Clow. She's now on here twice. I really like her patterns. And I want to make it out of this, it's Mohair 100% by Clover, that I also picked up in Japan. And it's like a chunky weight mohair. And it's 100% mohair, as the name says. It's really interesting yarn. It's got like a nice shine to it. It's incredibly soft. I thought it would be prickly, but it's not prickly at all. It's amazing. The Cargill Cowl calls for DK weight yarn, and I'm not honestly 100% sure what weight this is. I think it classifies itself as like bulky, but I'm pretty sure I can get it to a DK gauge. I just need to swatch a little bit. And it's a cowl, so like if the sizing's a little off one way or the other, I can just adjust the number of stitches and it's pretty easy. But I'm pretty excited about this, and I am just in a little bit of I really want to get my yarn from Japan knit up in a relatively timely manner, because I feel like the longer something sits in my stash, the less likely I am to ever do anything with it. And I don't want any of these yarns to languish. Like, they're special yarns, they have great memories in them, and I want to make sure I actually get around to knitting them into something, which is why I'm pretty determined to knit this, you know, this season. I did already buy the pattern for this. Rebecca just had a sale for her birthday recently, and so I snagged it during that sale. But yeah, it should be nice and easy, quick to knit up. It's done entirely in the same stitch pattern as her Cargill sweater, which she calls a dip stitch, which I've never done before, so I'm very excited to give that a try. And yeah, I just think this white and fuzzy, like something to slip on over, will just look really fun and special and should be extremely warm and cozy. So that is that plan. Now we're getting a little bit into, we've got what, 2 sweaters and a cowl going, as well as finishing up my sweater number 14, as well as working on this baby blanket, as well as finishing up the last few summer knits, because I still have my Tonight top on the needles, as well. You know, I've got a few projects on the go as well. And so if I'm being realistic, this is probably a pretty good representation of what I'm going to be able to knit, the things that I've shown right now. But that doesn't mean that's everything that I want to knit. So now we're getting into the category of things I have the yarn for. I, in my head, would love to knit, but if I'm being 100% realistic, there's probably not enough time to really do them. And so I am aware of that, and that is why they're in their own category. So next up is going to be the Miles shirt jacket by Ozetta. So I've been wanting to knit the Miles shirt jacket all year, like this entire year. I think it's fantastic. It's very, very my style. I very much just love to throw on like oversized men's shirts as my overshirt all the time. I steal my husband's shirts. I have ones that aren't his that I've bought myself. And that is my favorite thing to do, is just throw that over whatever I'm wearing. And it's what I feel the most comfortable in. And so that's really the vibe of the Miles shirt jacket, is this sort of like oversized men's shirt vibe with this like nice big chunky folded collar. And I seriously, I love it so much. I already have the yarn for it, clearly. This is Manchalope by Wool Dreamers, and it's an unspun yarn, and you hold it double and you knit it on, she calls for US 10 needles. I did gauge swatch for this and my gauge came out a little big, so I do need to gauge again with US 9s and see if that comes out a little better. But I can't do that until I finish the sweater number 14, because it is also using my 5.5mm US 9 needles. So it's on hold for that reason. The one reason I could see this getting cast on sometime this season is I've really been enjoying working on projects of different needle sizes, so that like if my hands get a little tired working on a fingering weight project, I can switch over to like my sweater number 14, which is on, you know, 5.5mm needles. And if those get tired, then I can switch over to another project I have that's knit on 4.5mm needles, and, you know, bounce back and forth as I need to. And I do really like that. So I could see finishing sweater number 14 and wanting to cast this on, just because it would maintain those chunkier needles sort of in my rotation, which would be really, really nice. So, and then like I said, I just really want to, this one is very much a product knit. I want to only finish product so badly. I just want it in my life. So while I don't really think I'm gonna have time this fall to cast it on, it is like next on the queue. It is right there. If there's any way I can squeeze it in at all, I absolutely will, and I'm so excited for it. And I just think this brown is gonna look so pretty in it. It's gonna go with everything. Like, it's gonna be great. And I'm excited to knit with unspun yarn. I've never done it before. I feel like it'll be a really interesting experience. So I liked making the swatch. It was kind of fun. So, but yeah, so that is the other one. A few stats on the pattern. Like I said, it's supposed to be on 6mm needles, or US 10. And it calls for Aran weight yarn. It calls for the Manchalope, so I'm using the recommended yarn. It's worked from the top down. It has drop shoulders, folded over collar, a really beautiful curved hem in the back and front that I think really adds a lot to the finished product. It looks like a tailored shirt almost. Like, it's really nice. And yeah, everything about it I love, so I'm hoping. Oh, okay, I'm just like building a small mountain of like knits and yarn over here, and it's probably gonna topple at some point, but that's okay. All right, next up on the wish list are a pair of socks. So I really enjoyed knitting my first pair of socks. If you were following along on that journey, they were just vanilla socks, but I really liked them. But I would like to try knitting a slightly more complicated pair of socks. And so I did buy already the pattern for Asterism by Yuka. And I've heard Florence Miller of Handmade by Florence has raved about Yuka designs in the past. She really likes them, really likes their patterns, and loves how beautiful they are. All of hers that she knits come out really beautiful. And I saw the thumbnail for these and I was just like, okay, yeah, I just want to buy those. Those are so lovely. So there are these really pretty cabled socks. There's two sock patterns in the pattern that I bought. One with a little bit of lace detailing and one that's just the cables. And I think I would go for just the cabley ones, the blue ones in the pictures that I'm putting up. I just think they're so pretty. And my plan is to knit it in this Yawal by Lang Yarns in the colorway. It's like this really pretty minty green color. I don't know if it says the color name on it though. It does not, so I'm not sure what the actual color is, but it's this really pretty minty green color. And I just think those would be so cute. And I do like the idea of just having some socks on the go that I can, you know, take with me if I'm out and about or anything like that. I don't know if the cables will make it hard to do that with these socks. They might. I might have sort of, you know, ruined the convenience part of sock knitting by adding the cables to them, but I just think they're going to be really pretty, and I think the mint is fun. And I have 2 balls of that. These are only 50-gram skeins, so I should have plenty of yarn to finish them. I don't plan on doing any contrasting sections. I just want them to all be the mint color all the way through, and I think they'll be so pretty. A few like stats on this. They're socks, so they're knit on, it calls for US 0 and US 1 needles, so it sounds like you probably go down a needle size for the ribbing, which should be good. I knit my other ones on US 1 or 2.25mm needles, but I do have a 2mm needle, just one, so I should be able to do that. It says they are toe up, which I've never, you know, I've only knit one pair of socks and it was cuffed down, so I'm excited to try a new technique and a new style. And yeah, I'm definitely really excited to try it. It also has the heel turn, heel flap, and gusset. So yep, should be really cool. I'm excited. And like I said, I don't 100% know if I will get to them, but I'm excited nonetheless. Next up is another pair of socks I'm kind of thinking about knitting that I think would be a really fast knit, but the issue is that I don't necessarily have the correct yarn for it. So these are the Sustenance Slippers by Andrea Mowry, and I do just like the idea of knitting like really thick like wool slippers socks. That'll keep my feet extra warm in the winter because I get extremely cold feet when the weather changes. And I do just think that the best yarn I have in my stash for this, as far as like how the slippers would feel, is my leftover Harrisville Delights nightshades. that I used for my Bibliophile 2 sweater earlier this year. I have a little over 1.5 skeins of this left over from that sweater, so I just weighed my like leftover partial ball. Oh, it's back here. And it's about 60 grams, so I've got about 160 grams, which is a little less than what the pattern calls for needing. The pattern also calls for worsted weight yarn, not DK, which the Nightshades is DK. But the Nightshades is also a woolen spun yarn, not a worsted spun yarn. And when I was knitting it in the Bibliophile, it was knitting up as a very dense DK, which I really like in that sweater. That sweater is like sturdy. Oh, I had the avalanche. Stay. It's like sturdy almost, but like I really like that about it. I think it's really nice. And I could see that feeling really nice on slippers. But I'm not sure that knitting them up on, I'm not sure how much it will change the gauge. And obviously you don't want to knit it too loose if it's something that's going to be on your feet. So this might not work. My other option is I have some fisherman's wool in the color oatmeal and also in the color white. And so I could maybe do something with those because those are worsted weight and also a fairly sturdy wool, which is what I am hoping to knit these out of. So again, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get to these, but I do just like the idea of getting some knit now so that they're ready for when I need them in the winter later when it gets really, really cold. So these, the Sustenance slippers are knit on a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter needle. Like I said, it calls for worsted weight yarn, and it has 2 different measurements for your calf measurement and your foot measurement. So I feel like that means you could get a pretty good fit on these, which is exciting. They are knit cuff down, which is exciting. And they have an afterthought heel, which is also a technique I've never done before. So again, I am very excited with the sock ones. I'm trying to pick out patterns that have some different techniques in them so that I can start really getting a feel for what I like in socks and, you know, really tailoring that, finding my perfect sock pattern. So I would be very excited to try these. And I think it would just be fun to knit a worsted weight sock and have it just like knit up so fast. It'd be really exciting. So yeah, those are also a maybe. And then finally in this category of things I don't think I'm gonna get to, but I do already have the yarn for, we're coming to the end here, it's the Nichi Nichi cardigan by Yamagara Knits. And my plan would be to knit that in this Cumbria fingering from the Fiber Co. that I bought a few months ago, a few weeks ago. It's in the color Hollyberry. And this is a Masham wool merino and mohair blend. And I absolutely love the color of this. I think it is stunning. It's so pretty. But it is just the slightest bit itchy, I think, because of the mohair in it. And so my plan was to knit, as I said, the Nichi Nichi cardigan. And I just think that a cardigan would be something that, you know, even if it feels a little itchy, I can layer it and it'll be fine and it'll keep it off my neck. What I love about this cardigan, it is a ribbed cardigan, but the ribbing sort of changes patterns. And so on the top part of it, it's like it's like a wider rib, like it's like a 1x3 rib or something like that. So you get these nice columns of the distinct little rib stitches. It looks really pretty. And then when it gets into the body, it's a broken rib texture, and again, just really pretty. This is a fingering weight pattern. It has a gauge of 23 stitches by 36 rows for 4 inches in the broken rib stitch pattern. And it's knit on US 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. So, you know, smaller needle, but I think this will make a really nice transitional cardigan at that fingering weight gauge. So it'll be something you can just sort of throw on, keep you a little bit warm, and not be absolutely, you know, baking in it, which I sometimes am in this one, which is, you know, the Arthur cardigan, you've got, what's it? It's, you know, a worsted weight gauge using a DK weight yarn and a mohair, and it's so warm and I can't wear it until it's quite cold outside without being a little bit uncomfortable. And so I love the idea of having a fingering weight cardigan that I can use in the more transitional seasons or just on slightly warmer days, even in the winter, because I live in California, it's not always that cold here, even in the winter. And yeah, I think I would just wear the heck out of it. I think it would be fantastic. So here's some stats on this. This cardigan is, like I said, knit on US 4 needles. It is worked from the bottom up. Ooh, I've never done that before. And seamed. And yeah, so it should be a very different, I've heard a lot of people say they really don't like, knit flat garments that they have to seam, but I've never done it before, so it is probably something I should do. And I do really like the look of this cardigan, and so I think it would be fine. Yeah, I don't know really what else to say about it at this point. It comes in 7 different sizes, and it has a recommended 5 inches of positive ease. I'm not sure. I'd probably go for about the 5 inches of positive ease, because yeah, I don't necessarily want anything super tight and fitted. I just want something easy to wear. So originally this cardigan was absolutely on my to knit list. It was probably pushing out one of my other sweaters as an option because I did think it would be so good for the fall. However, I am just so excited about the other projects that I have going on that it got moved down the list just a little bit, but that doesn't mean I'm not like itching to cast on. The thing is, I want to cast on all of these right now, which is like not practical, obviously. But if I could get to it this season, that would be absolutely fantastic. But there is a chance that I might wait to knit it a little later in the year and possibly even save it for a spring knit, which would also be okay. So those are all of the projects that I have the yarn for already. I have other projects that I have yarn set aside for, but I'm not even kidding myself into thinking that it would happen this season. This is already too many things. Now, just for fun bonus, I have 2 projects that in my ideal world I would have for fall this year, but that I don't even have the yarn for. I don't plan to buy the yarn for, and I obviously don't have the time to knit them anyways. So, but as far as fall pieces, if you're looking for some transitional fall pieces, I think these are unbelievably stunning. But the first one is the Moonlight Cardigan by Mini Me Knit Design. And this is a short sleeve little like just shell almost, like it doesn't have buttons, it doesn't have any closures to close the cardigan. It just sort of sits over whatever you're wearing. It's all in garter stitch, which just makes it look so like effortless and easy. And I could see if you knit this in something with like a little bit of just drapiness to it, because it doesn't really need to, you know, hold its shape. You really just want it to drape around you, and it's so cute. It's so cute. Like I think I would wear the heck out of this. I think it's so pretty. She has it in this like light to medium gray color, and I honestly would probably want to knit it in a similar color. I think that's a very versatile color. It calls for DK weight yarn, and it is knit on a US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needle. It has 10 sizes, and it calls for 7 3/4 to 10 inches of positive ease. So for quite a bit of positive ease, but that makes sense because it's supposed to just sort of drape around you anyways. But yeah, if I had the time, this would absolutely be an option. Time and yarn. I already have a lot of yarn I need to work through, and I don't need to go get more. And so if I don't have the yarn for something right now, it's a bit of a sign that it's probably not going to happen. But I do just love this. I keep looking at it, like coming through my Ravelry and just like pausing on this one and being like, oh, I wish. The other one in this category is the Transition Slipover by Amy Scher. I think this is so cute. It's a vest that buttons on the sides, on both sides, instead of, you know, in the middle or just being, you know. But yeah, I really like the button closures. I think it adds a lot. And it's just really pretty. It's got these lovely cables on it. It's a V-neck on one side and then rounded on the other, so it's technically reversible. But the way I would want to do it is I would want to purposefully make the V-neck the front, and I would want to make the back panel just like a little bit longer, and so it has a definite like stepped hem in the back. I think there was one project on Ravelry that did that, and I was reading through the notes. They said they did it on accident, but it looks so good, and I was like, I want to do it on purpose. I think it looks fantastic. I would probably want to do this in like a dark brown with possibly like some tweedy flecks in it or something. I think would look so great. I think it would go with anything. And I love wearing flannel shirts in the fall and winter, and I could just see this looking so cute over one of my flannels. So yeah, that again, I don't have the yarn for it. I don't have any plans to actually knit this at the moment, but I think if I was looking for like my ideal fall wardrobe and fall projects, this would be in it, and I think it's stunning. So yeah, the Transition Slipover by Amy Sher. And very final last one, the other thing I've been kicking around making this season is another basic Boatneck tank. So I actually just finished, I'll talk about it in my next podcast episode, but the basic Boatneck tank that I am test knitting for True Summer Knits. And it's this really beautiful basic Boatneck tank. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no frills. It's got really nice I-cord edging on the neckline and the underarms, and then a folded hem at the bottom. And I made it in Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Dusty Sea Green. And what I really want to make is I want to make it in black. So I would still probably use Knitting for Olive Merino just because that's easy for me to access. I have it at my local yarn store. But I want to do it in the black color, and I would want to crop it just a little bit more. And I just think it would look so cute as a transitional piece in fall to, you know, wear with my high-waisted jeans, with a flannel over the top, with, you know, it just would be such a staple piece. And I knit the first one so fast. It's such a quick and easy knit. It's really nice. It's knit on US, I knit it on US 2.5 needles, which is a needle size up from what Madison of True Summer Knits recommends. Hey, so this is Editing Bonnie talking to you from the future. I realized as I was editing that my camera just sort of stopped recording a little sooner than I meant for it to. So to finish my train of thought, the basic Boatneck is, I knit it on a 3mm needle. Madison has you knit it, Madison of True Summer Knits has you knit it on a 2.75mm needle. But honestly, despite the tight gauge and the small needle size, it knit up so fast. I was blown away by it, and I know a lot of the other testers were also completely blown away by how fast they knitted up. So that was basically my reasoning behind putting it in this list, is that it just would be nice to have something I could, you know, zip through, finish real quick, and just have to wear and have a nice basic. So with that, that was my entire list of projects for my fall knitting plans, and I hope you guys had a good time. I'm gonna wrap it up here since, you know, lost some of my footage, but hopefully you guys don't mind the little bit of a change in angle and a little less formality. But I have a lot of knitting plans to get started on, so I'm gonna get going, get this video finished, and get it up for you guys. I hope you are having a lovely day. I hope you got some knitting in, and I will see you next time. Bye.